Hello and welcome to Compass Conversations, where we talk about meaning and purpose at Butler and beyond. Enjoy the journey.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Compass Conversations. I'm Dr. Brent Hagee, Compass Center Scholar in Residence and Senior Lecturer in Religion at Butler University. In this season of Compass Conversations, I'm hosting a series of conversations with current Butler Compass Scholars to learn more about the work we do at the Compass Center, the Compass Scholars Program, and the importance of interfaith engagement and exploring meaning and purpose. Thank you all for joining us for this conversation. With me today is Senior Compass Scholar Carson Miller. Welcome, Carson.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Carson, just to get us started, please tell us about yourself. Where are you from? What are you studying at Butler? What are your career goals? And what have you been involved with at Butler?
Yeah, so obviously I'm a senior with the Compass Center. I am from St. John, Indiana, studying finance and business technology with a minor in philosophy. Career goals, I think I'm looking towards getting my MBA at a later point, maybe mid to late 20s, along with some certifications. Maybe after graduation, I will be working at a big accounting firm in Chicago called RSM, and there I'll be doing some technology risk consulting, which I'm pretty excited for and looking towards that. I'm a Compass Scholar. I was also involved in the Interfaith Council. I'm also a member of Phi Delta Theta. I do a little bit with club tennis, FMA, MISTA, which is a business technology club, and then some data competitions here and there. So a lot of stuff going on, but it's all really fun. Got to meet a lot of great people through them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. What got you interested in finance in the first place?
I think I didn't really know a lot about it, and I wanted to learn about it. In high school, I knew a little bit, not a lot, but I really wanted to take that next step. And I know personal finance was a big topic for me. I wanted to understand, how to invest, especially for retirement, make those correct steps later to set myself up later in life. And I think that was kind of the perfect opportunity to get that exposure here at Butler.
Yeah, that's great. What exploration or reflection have you done with your own religious or spiritual commitments while at Butler? And what have you learned from that exploration and reflection?
Yeah, so I entered Butler as a identifying Christian, but like a lot of people, as soon as I entered college, I quickly realized that maybe I was a little unsure kind of with what I believed, and I set myself up for a bit of spiritual exploration.
Mhm.
Through my involvement with the Compass Center and the Interfaith Council, especially, I found myself asking more of those deeper questions, kind of about my beliefs, my values, and just how I see the world in general. So I think I'd kind of now describe myself, like I mentioned, in that state of exploration still. And I've learned that, this uncertainty of, this explorative state isn't necessarily a weakness, but it's an opportunity and it's room for personal growth, which I
Mhm.
really value deeply. And I think, reflecting on this, this time in my life, especially at a place like Butler, really has taught me that it's okay, and it's important to be open-minded and curious about all of it. And I've kind of been able to grow over these 4 years into someone who embraces that complexity of, in understanding that it's important to actively seek out this stuff rather than avoid it.
Yeah, that's great. Has there been a particular moment or experience that really helped you figure out that it's okay to have that kind of exploration?
I think it really was, my first year when I was in the Interfaith Council, there was a lot of people in there who, were questioning, their own beliefs. Like me, they identified and they, practiced their entire lives with specific denomination or religion, but just weren't sure if they actually truly believed it. And I think that really stood out to me is because, when I was having those thoughts myself, I was kind of scared. I didn't really understand, if that was okay or if I was kind of
Yeah.
betraying the religion itself. But I think that space really gave me the opportunity to, acknowledge that growth and actively pursue it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Mhm.
What's it been like to come to terms with the fact that doubting or questioning is kind of okay? Like it's okay to wrestle with these kind of big questions.
Yeah, I think it's been great. I think, like I mentioned, there's a lot of room for growth. And it's a
Hmm.
little scary at first, but I think that, really understanding that there's a lot out there has kind of brought me comfort, as crazy as that sounds. And I think that it means that if there's a lot out there, there's stuff for me. And I think that is kind of the most comforting thing, when tackling those questions, and realizing, like, maybe it's okay to understand or seek out new things.
Yeah, that's a great segue into the next question I have for you, which is What have you learned through your interfaith engagement through the Compass Center, and why should students embrace opportunities like this for interfaith engagement?
I think the main thing I've learned is how much there actually is out there, you know, and not just within, you know, spiritual or religious traditions, but people themselves. There's so many different types of people. And I think participating in those interfaith events and conversations really expanded, you know, my worldview in ways that I really never expected. And I think, you know, it's one thing to read about different faiths and philosophies and, you know, everything in a book, but it's another thing to actually sit down, you know, with those people and have those deep, meaningful conversations, you know, that you really wouldn't otherwise. And I think, you know, a place like Butler really helped me have those opportunities to talk to those people, especially through the Compass Center, you know, and I've made some great friends here. And these friendships really helped me learn kind of about myself, and just, you know, the ways of different types of religions, that I really wasn't too familiar with before
Hmm.
coming to college. And I think, again, like I mentioned earlier, that's really helped me, you know, reflect and think more deeply about my own purpose and values and how I, you know, want to look at the world itself.
Yeah, can you share maybe one particular experience you've had that really helped to open your eyes to that kind of broader way of thinking about interfaith or exploring meaning and purpose?
For sure. So I think something as little as just like roommate being having a conversation with roommates. You know, there's been
Mhm.
many times where I've roommates of the Jewish faith or the Hindu faith, and I didn't really understand a whole lot. You know, I've had some exposure here and there, but being able to actively sit down, you know, late at night over a meal and just have these conversations about what this means and how it compares to something else, and you know why someone believes this, I think really opened my eyes and has allowed me to kind of get bits and pieces, and kind of implement those into my own values, and just, you know, kind of that outlook I have on life itself, which is so it's been a really cool experience. Just those little moments I think have helped me kind of build, and put the pieces together into becoming the person that I want to be.
Yeah, those kind of random
Mhm.
encounters, just those late night conversations that can be so important. Yeah. Can you share a little bit about what you might want prospective Butler students to know about the Compass Center or the Scholars Program or anything else related to meaning, purpose, spiritual life, interfaith engagement at Butler?
Yeah, for sure. So I've obviously touched on this a lot, but I think I would really want people to know that it's okay to be unsure.
Hmm.
Like I mentioned, you know, when I arrived, I thought I had a pretty clear idea of who I was. But once I got involved, you know, with the Compass Center and the Interfaith Council and just all the other on-campus organizations, I quickly realized that, you know, life is full of questioning and, you know, searching for those purposes, and it doesn't have to be scary. And in fact, I think it can be quite freeing, like I found. And you don't really need to have it all figured out. And I think some of the most transformative experiences do come when you admit that you don't have it figured out. And
Hmm.
I think, you know, that was something that really has opened my mind, and again, like allowed me to feel, you know, that sense of that freeness, and comfort. And again, like I keep mentioning, the Scholars Program is a perfect place, you know, to have those conversations, and to explore those big questions with people who, you know, may be like-minded and really want to answer and have those conversations. So it's been a great place. And I think that's definitely something that my word of advice, you know, it's okay to not know.
It is okay to not know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very good advice. Yeah. Well, that's a good segue into the next question. What's one piece of wisdom or advice you wish you could go back to tell yourself before you arrived at Butler?
The main thing I tell myself is to be open to the unexpected. You know, like at college, you're gonna grow in a lot of ways that you're not even gonna imagine. And I think, you know, through friends, classes, or just other challenges that you may face, you know, embracing that, discomfort and, you know, not knowing is really going to be able to put you into that next, level of identifying, you know, who you are as a person. And I think another thing I'd mention is also the power of showing up, which kind of builds on that. You know, just
Hmm.
showing up to conversations or study sessions or really anything can really help you, you know, understand and, you know, tackle those unexpected moments of life, and help you put those pieces together. And I think those do lead to like the most, memorable moments of the college experience.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I love that. Um, Last question for you, Carson. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners about your experience at Butler or your experience with the Compass Center as a Compass Scholar? Just anything else you want to leave with our listeners before we sign off?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I'm sure people have said this a lot. People say this all the time, but college is truly what you put in. It's really important to get involved, show up, ask questions, and just get outside of your comfort zone. College is the time to explore and become who you are. And I think, a place like Butler is the perfect time to start that journey.
I agree 100%. Carson, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation about the good and meaningful work we do together at Butler's Compass Center.
Yeah, thank you so much. So happy I could be here.
Yeah. Thanks too to all of our listeners for joining us for this conversation. Please like and subscribe and share this podcast, and please add your comments below. Be well, y'all.